Thanks for learning more about the Round Valley Emergency Communication Plan. We know there are a lot of things going on in the world today, and some of them are natural disasters and others are man-made problems. We're not trying today to predict that we will have serious problems in Round Valley, but it makes common sense to just prepare more for what could come our way. We know that right now there are a lot of things naturally occurring in the world that can cause problems. I had a unique opportunity a few weeks ago to talk with the gentleman that was over all of the relief efforts in the Haiti earthquake a year ago. He had a chance to give me some information, and he knew that I was working with preparedness in Round Valley. And he asked me what I thought was the number one need that they had when they were working with the relief efforts. And I told him I thought it was probably food and water because they were very hard to come by. But he corrected me and he said that the number one issue that they had above all else was communication, because so many of the people weren't able to be contacted that it was a difficult thing. So we are in the process now of looking at things that have happened. We know that 3.5 years ago, there was California's largest fire that they've had, the Paradise Fire. And after 2 weeks, there were over 500 people still missing. The reason was because their cell phone towers were gone down because of the fires. They were down. Well, we know in Round Valley that we've experienced fires and different things. We also know that there have been times when we've been very isolated, and because of weather, people couldn't get back and forth. We also know that 4 years ago, we were encouraged to be able to survive 6 months without electricity. That was done in December of 2018, and I don't believe that I feel like that things have gotten much better since then, and if anything, they may have gotten worse. Well, back at the beginning of the spring of this past year, the Coalition for Family Values in Round Valley and also the Round Valley Concerned Citizens Group decided that they would work together on an initiative entitled Get to Know Your Neighbors. And because of the things that we've known, we determined that we would look around at communication and use that as one of our main thrusts. The greatest communication tool in the history of mankind is probably in your pocket or pocketbook. The cell phones that we have today are just miraculous, and they are amazing what they can do. But what if they were down for weeks or even longer? We had a little wake-up call a few weeks ago with our own cell phones being down for a couple of days, and it was very inconvenient, and it caused some people some concern. But in the event that that was more permanent, if you will, then what would we do and how would we be able to respond? Well, several years ago, Round Valley Concerned Citizens developed its own radio net, where we have now approximately 100 households that had radios, and they were able to communicate, and we would hold drills monthly and different things in case that we weren't able to have typical cell phone communication. Well, when we looked at that harder with the Round Valley Coalition for Family Values, together we determined that communication would be an excellent way for people to develop their communication skills and also get to know each other better. So what we did is we started with 10 of our members who are in different neighborhoods, and we decided that we, instead of the more expensive handheld ham type radios, that we would actually go to an inexpensive $10 radio that was like walkie-talkies, except it had a huge difference. It was programmable, so that we had over 5,000 frequencies that we could use so each neighborhood could have its own unique channel, and also all Round Valley only have a channel, and then 12 additional walkie-talkie channels that could communicate with any other walkie-talkie, and then even more valuable in most cases, that it could communicate with the Greens Peak repeaters for both the White Mountains and also the entire Southwest. And they have typical licensed people that communicate back and forth. But the thing is, in a serious emergency, we would be able to monitor, similar to a police band radio, we'd be able to monitor the Greens Peak repeaters. And in that event, we'd get information, especially for all over the White Mountains and what's going on right here in our area. Back when we started this, those radios basically cost $10 a piece. And that was an unbelievably good value for what you would get for that. Well, what we want to do, we wanted something very simple and very accessible. And so we got these radios that basically were just simple as they could be. They had 2 knobs and 3 buttons and a speaker jack. But one was an on-off volume, another was to change channels, and it would actually tell you the channel name when you rotated it. And then there was a push to talk button like any walkie-talkie would have, and it also had a flashlight and a monitor button that would allow you to hear further out stations that were weak. And so these radios were extremely valuable, and at the time they only cost $10 when we started. So what we've done is we have gone now to say, how do we operate these radios and what should we do to work with them? And probably the most important thing you need to remember, and we have its own slide for this, is that it's very important to make sure when you're charging the radio and also when you're storing the radio that the power is turned off. That it can actually overheat if you're charging it with the power on. Then, of course, the battery can run down if you store it with the power on. So those are 2 important things to remember. We have divided Round Valley into 4 sections, the northwest, northeast, southwest, and southeast. And we currently have nearly 500 of these handheld radios in Round Valley and over 40 unique neighborhoods. And so we've been able to have that to where we now have the ability to have communication. We're going to be having a drill, and this slide and the other slide that has lots of words will actually be below what you're looking at right now, and you can read it. But in essence, it says that on Sunday night, August 7th, we're going to have a radio drill with as many of the 500 radios as can participate, but they will just listen in on the all Round Valley channel 2. So when they turn on the radios, you just turn it to channel 2 and you listen. We're not going to contact 500 people, obviously, but we are going to just ask the neighborhood coordinators, who are approximately 40 of them, how well they hear us and other people in their areas. And so we want to tell you that inflation has hit in a lot of areas, you might have noticed. But right now, the radios have gone to, $15 a piece instead of $10. But that's still a tremendous value for your emergency preparedness. There are some accessories that are excellent to have. The ability to have it protected against electronic EMP or solar flare, coronal mass ejection problems that could damage the radio. Also, if we had a power outage for any length of time, a small handheld solar charger the size of your phone could keep your radios charged, and you have to have a special charger to go into that unit. But those are things that we strongly recommend you look into. Also, there's information on how we'll go about if we had an emergency. One example is the 36912 plan, where every 3 hours you turn on your radio and listen for, a minute or two. Now, we are growing, and we would love to get every household in Round Valley to have a radio, and we know that will never happen. But we do know that by our neighborhoods, our coordinators have found that the single most effective way to share this communication plan with people is when we're going to have a drill, and we have these drills that will be basically the first of each month in September and in October, and then we'll go quarterly thereafter. But the neighborhoods, your small neighborhoods, should have their own drills occasionally until people really feel comfortable with the radios and how they work. And so we recommend strongly that you just loan a radio to a neighbor and just have them just say that you will be able to listen in and participate. And then if you want to keep the radio, you can go ahead and purchase it, or otherwise we'll just pick it back up, and you'll know what's going on in the neighborhood. Lastly, for this drill that we're going to be having Sunday night, we have a sheet that lists who all the neighborhood coordinators are. We only use first names. We don't share last names, but the coordinators know who they are. And when we do this drill, we will be calling out, and it'll take roughly 10 minutes or less, and go through the list and just ask how they hear the voice for the radio drill. And then we would like them to keep a record of how they hear. And so that's what this sheet is. And if you'd like to print one off and just keep record of your own, you'll know how the different communications go in these different areas of the southeast, southwest, northwest, and northeast. And you can just go through and check off how well you've heard them. So thank you for your participation, and we will plan on this drill this week, and we hope you can participate. Bye.